Okay, stop. If you haven't seen the finale to Game of Thrones, don't watch this because spoilers galore. That's a warning. So go and watch the finale, then come back and watch this. This is my wrap up for the entire season 4 of Game of Thrones. So yeah, spoilers galore ahead. So Game of Thrones season 4 finished up the other night. It's been a couple of nights now. I haven't got around to doing this review quite yet. I was going to do a review for every episode, but I just didn't have the time, so I'm going to do a wrap up for the entire season right here. So the last episode started off where the previous episode finished. Jon Snow heading out to the other side of the wall to negotiate with Mance. I think his intention was originally to kill him, but through their conversation, I think Jon was somewhat sympathetic to their cause and was maybe going to let them go through the gate onto the other side of the wall. But they didn't get a chance to do that because guess who shows up? Stannis Baratheon with his army and slaughters a bunch of wildlings. Eventually captures Mance. Jon then lets Stannis know who he is. He's Ned Stark's son. And actually convinces him to spare Mance's life, which I think is pretty good. Now that Stannis is at the wall, that's going to be an interesting aspect next season. But fuck that red woman. She's got her eyes on Jon, and I hope he doesn't get sucked into her bullshit. I hope he actually takes her out. That'd be great. But she's there. Stannis, they're all at the wall now. The White Walkers are still coming, we assume. So yeah, that's an interesting, and like I loved last week's episode, the Watchers on the Wall. That was fantastic. It was Lord of the Rings-esque in just scale and scope. It was fantastic. The battle scenes were great. The giants looked awesome. They had the woolly mammoths there. That axe thing on the wall that came down and just chopped them all. That was awesome. I love that bit. So yeah, this was a really good continuation of that story, and that's sort of where that ended this season. Then we moved to King's Landing, and we had Cersei pretty much telling her father to go fuck himself, and she doesn't want to marry Loras Tyrell, I think it is. Yeah, so, and she drops the bomb. She pretty much confirms that yes, her and Jaime have been fucking this entire time, and you know, Joffrey and now Tommen have no claim to the throne whatsoever. So she finally drops that on him. He doesn't want to believe it, but I guess he has to now. He has got no choice, pretty much. So that was pretty big, and then she goes and has sex with Jaime again. So yeah, that was a bit different. Then we go to the Vale. Brienne has finally caught up with Arya. That was a little bit interesting. She wasn't too sure who she was, but then the Hound rocks up, and Podrick recognises who he is, and that fight scene was fantastic. I loved it. Brienne versus the Hound, very brutal. Rocks against the head, that was great. I love that. And yeah, Arya's this season has been the breakout star for me. She's fantastic in her role, and just the back and forth between her and the Hound the entire season has been awesome. And yeah, this is sort of the end of their story together. He ends up breaking his leg, and pretty much begs her to kill him. And you can tell like the development of her character. She just lets him sit there. She steals, I think, was his money pouch, and just walks off with him begging to be killed. So we assume he's going to die a slow, painful death. And then she ends up on the coast, and this has been in the works in season 2. She's got the coin to go to Bravos with the dude that can change his face. And she goes up to the ship captain, and she gives him the coin, and she says the words, and all of a sudden she is heading off to Bravos, which is going to be interesting next season. That's going to be a really cool wherever that story's heading, whether she's going to learn how to do the face changing thing or what's going to happen. So that was I'm glad that she's now left Westeros. She's heading for Essos. So I'm really looking forward to where her story is going, because that was the story that really got me this year. Her character development has been really, really good. So I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of Essos, over in Meereen, we have Daenerys, and she's trying to balance between being a conqueror and a queen, and she isn't finding it too easy. And in this episode, we find out that one of her dragons has killed a small child. So she does what she never really wanted to do. She takes the 2 remaining dragons she has down to the crypts, and she actually chains them up, which was a very, very hard scene to watch, because you can tell she's in so much pain doing this, locking them up, got the collar around the neck, and she locks them down there. There's still the big one, the black one. He's out flying somewhere. No one knows really where he is, but they're trying to track him down. But at the moment, he just seems to be running rampant in the countryside, just killing whoever he pleases. So she's finding it hard to sort of juggle that. So she's still in Marine. She's not come into Westeros just yet, but eventually I guess she's going to make it there. Then we move up north of the Wall again. Bran. His story is finally getting a bit... It felt a bit slow this season. There wasn't much really on it. It was just him and his fellow band of travellers walking and really getting nowhere. But finally they sort of got to where they wanted to go, the tree. And then I think Jojen or whatever his name is, carks it. They get ambushed by skeletons from Jason and the Argonauts, I think it was. They get ambushed, and then they get saved by this little girl who, apparently, if I know my Game of Thrones lore, is a child of the forest or something of that effect. But she's like this magic little pixie thing that scares off these skeletons with the bloody flaming pine cones from The Hobbit. But he finally finds the three-eyed raven, who turns out to be an old man, sitting under the tree, and basically tells Bran that he'll never walk again, but he will fly. So I have no idea where that's going, but I'm looking forward to it now that that story's developed a little bit more. It felt like the weak point of this season, but it's been moving on. Well, it's moving on now, so I'm happy with that. So Tyrion's still locked up, awaiting his death sentence, and then Jaime shows up, and Jaime is there to free him. And apparently, him and Varys, the spider, they've hooked up, and they're gonna get him on a boat over to the Free Cities on Essos and get him out of there. And it looks like at the start that he's going to get away, and he just sort of he leaves his cell, and he's heading towards the docks, and then you see him just sort of contemplate what he's doing, and he turns around, and he ends up in his father's bedroom, and in his father's bed is Shay, his girlfriend or whore or whatever you want to call her, and she's in his father's bed, and he loses it, and they end up fighting, and he ends up strangling her with a necklace. And you see the pain in his eyes as he does this, and she dies, and he just looks over and says, "I'm sorry." And that was it. And then you think, that's going to be it, but then he looks over, and then there's Joffrey's crossbow on the wall. And I just was thinking, holy shit, what's going to happen next? So he takes it, and he finds his father, who's on the crapper. He's taking his evening constitutional, and Tyrion rocks up. And just the back and forth between the two was great. It's been building for so long. You can sort of feel the decades of history between these two people, the hatred between one another. And Tywin takes it one step too far. He calls Shay a whore one too many times, and Tyrion fills him with bolts. And that's it. Tywin is now gone. He's dead. And Tyrion was the one to do it, and I think that's the best sort of poetic justice that could have come out of that situation, that Tyrion is the one that gets to finally end his father's life, I guess. And that scene was great. It was a great, big sort of... I don't know whether it would have been a shock to most people, but just once he was sort of let out by Jaime, I knew something else was going to happen. And then he meets up with Varys, and they head off to the boats, and he chucks him in a crate with holes in it. And then Varys is about to head back to the city, and he turns around, and the bells are ringing, and obviously they found Tywin dead, and you just see the look on his face. He's just like, not going back there. So he actually jumps on the boat with Tyrion. So it looks like a lot of the action in season 5 might be happening over on Essos. You got Tyrion, Varys, Arya, and Daenerys over there now. So that'll be interesting. But this season on a whole has been absolutely fantastic. Got to give it 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10, whatever you want. We had Joffrey dying. We had the Red Viper versus the Mountain. That was awesome. So this season has delivered. Every episode has been fantastic. I've loved it. And now I'm just waiting around for season 5 like everyone else. So yeah, that's my review. I give it a perfect 10 for the season. It was great. And I think tomorrow on my gaming channel, I will be doing a review of my Xbox One, which I just picked up today. I just put an unboxing video up, but I'll probably do a proper review of the software and that tomorrow over on my gaming channel. So check that out. But until then, peace out.